trying to remember all of these things from the distant past. So a lot of this I rely on memory, and as we all know, memory can be very, very faulty. As I remember it, in a sense, the project began at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, Illinois, in the late 1980s and early 1990s. At that time, I was a professor of anthropology and had introduced an undergraduate anthropology course, which was to focus on the everyday life of enslaved Africans and their descendants in the Americas. As you might know, this is not a conventional course topic in anthropology. Anthropologists simply don't deal with this issue. And so for many years, while I was teaching the prescribed courses, I finally convinced my department I had published enough that I could introduce and made a good case for teaching an anthropology course in slave life. That is, looked at from the perspective of an anthropologist, not a historian's view of slavery. So I was interested in the mundane aspects of people's lives, right? And so in my naivete, I decided that I was going to try to illustrate every lecture. And I knew nothing about this, and what I did was then, I went to the library in the conventional way and went down various stacks and looked for books on slavery and ultimately accumulated a number of images and secondary sources that I thought could illustrate what I wanted to talk about. And so I went to the library. The library had facilities for making slides. This was before, scanning things. And we made slides of a number of images in these various secondary sources. And I really don't recall now how many we made, but I was totally non-critical. James Walvin wrote, as we all know, has written a number of potboilers on slavery, and I went to one of his books, I don't remember which, and there were a bunch of images there, and I just took them at face value and took this and took that and so on and so forth. It's only much later that I learned that a lot of these images were total nonsense, and that, people go to these publishing houses and say, look, I got a book, or however it manages, and the publishers pick the images, and they don't care about the inherent scholarly value of the images, their legitimacy, and so on and so forth. So I was very naive in approaching all of this, but I had no other intention than to give the students some kind of visual perspective on the things that I was talking about, whether it be cutting sugar cane or processing cane juice, making molasses, houses, settlements, and so on and so forth. And like I said, I had no idea how historically accurate were the images that I was showing. So the upshot of all of this, like I said, I don't really remember how many slides. I estimate now from the perspective of 2017 that there are maybe 100 or 200, but I'm really not sure. It's certainly not more than 200 and not less than 100. At any rate, these form the core of the website that was to be developed in later years. I retired from Southern Illinois University in the fall of 1995 and then moved to Virginia, to Charlottesville, Virginia, to take up a fellowship at the Virginia Foundation for the Humanities. After I got to Virginia, I did my fellowship for a few months, and then I don't remember the details any longer, but I think it was during my first period at the foundation that they had just moved into a new building and had expanded the physical space, and the president of the foundation wanted to utilize all the new space over the summer. And what I remember is that I had an idea for running a summer seminar for college teachers funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities, but it gets all garbled in my mind. Initially, what I wanted to do, what I remember, I wanted to do a summer institute on what the anthropologists would call the ethnography of the Middle Passage, how the boats were organized, how the captors were taken on board, how they were stripped or not stripped, the conditions aboard the ships, the whole thing, just taking these ships as what the famous sociologist Irving Goffman once called total institutions. And it was very crudely formed in my own mind, but one of the things that I wanted to do and this is an aside, when I retired from teaching, one of the things I vowed two things. One, that I would never go back into the classroom. I would never go back and prepare lectures, and I did not want to prepare lectures, and somebody had introduced me to Joseph Miller, who is now retired from the University of Virginia, a prominent historian of Africa, and kind of asked him if he would like to join me. So I brought the idea to Miller and the whole, just a general idea, and he was enthusiastic about it and asked him if he would collaborate, and yes, he wanted to. And Miller at the time then suggested a different focus of the Institute, broadening it out to basically the African background to the transatlantic slave trade. And in effect, he made the thing more fundable as far as I was concerned. Though we had as it evolved, we had very, 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 very different perspectives on what the content of the course should be. And I was approaching it as an anthropologist. As an anthropologist, I was looking at issues concerning what did these captive Africans on the ships, what did they bring with them in their minds that were transplanted in the New World with respect to all kinds of ideas, family, religion, and so on and so forth. And as a historian, Joe had a somewhat different idea. At any rate, we had the Institute. It was funded, okay? And as the Institute progressed, somehow it came, I don't know when it came, that I would give a slide illustrated lecture on one dimension of this, and the slides that I put together were slides of individuals whom I had picked, and I had biographical information. So we constructed I gave a slide illustrated lecture focusing primarily on experiences, obviously the most famous of whom was Equiano and a variety of others for whom I had pictures and biographical information. And then someone, and I no longer remember who it was, though. It could have been Miller or a student in the Roots program. I mean, I was very, very new to this stuff. Suggested that the whole slide collection should be scanned or digitized. But someone directed me to Michael Tuite, Tuite, who was director of an outfit at the university at the time, which was called the Multimedia Resource Center. And then later on, it developed into what was called the Digital Media Center, which was incorporated in the University of Virginia Library. In any case, the website was created at the Digital Media Lab, and Tuite, he digitized the slides, and he suggested creating a database, then a website to bring the images to the attention of a lot wider audience.